All right, good evening, everybody. Welcome to Channel 6 TV Community Focus. I'm Kenny Fogle, your host. Glad you could be with us today. We've got a very special guest with us today. We've got the Bardstown Chief of Police, Kim Krasig, and I hope I pronounced that right.
Absolutely.
Well, first of all, welcome to the show. I appreciate you being here.
Thanks for having me.
And before we get into your chief duties and all the good stuff around here, tell me a little about who Kim Krasig is.
You know, I'm a mom. I'm a mom of 4 boys and a wife. I've been married almost 20 years, and I've been in law enforcement now going on my 24th year. And this is a career that it's the only career that I've ever wanted, and since I was a little girl. And so it's kind of one of those jobs that's never been a job. I've always enjoyed coming to work, and I've enjoyed every single day of it.
Well, that was going to be my very first question: is what sparked you in looking into law enforcement? I mean, obviously, when you're young, there's 1,000 careers out there to look at. Somebody or something lit that spark in you.
You know, I come from a family of law enforcement professionals. So I grew up in a home where my father was a police officer, and so he was always my hero. And so I was going to be just like him. But, you know, he came on the police department in the 70s. And so in the 70s, there was not a lot of female police officers. And so he kind of always, as I grew up, kind of tried to steer me away from law enforcement. Because in the era that he came on in, there was not a lot of police women. And so my mother was a nurse, my sister's a nurse. And so he kind of pushed me into that direction. But from a little girl on, you know, all the stories that I wrote in kindergarten and first grade and second grade were always about, you know, being the police officer and catching the robber and saving the day. And I just really kept with the career goal of I was going to be a police officer one day. And I stayed steady with that. And, you know, kind of as I grew older, and he continued to give me ideas of different careers that he thought I may like. I continued to let him know that I really wanted to be a police officer. And it was actually, I think, my mother that finally said, it's time to support your daughter and that she's going to be a police officer one day. And he is now my biggest fan. And so not only is he in law enforcement, but I have a brother, a cousin, my son, and together, all of us together, our years of service total about 118 years of service that we've given back to the community in law enforcement.
I picture y'all like at Sunday dinner like NYPD Blue, where the whole family sits around the table.
You know, the series Blue Bloods?
That's what I'm thinking.
Definitely kind of is a good
the
way
Tom
to
Selleck show. I couldn't remember the name
and
of it.
he actually looks like Tom Selleck, so it's a good analogy.
So the challenges had to be rough when you first started out, because you didn't have a whole lot of role models as females at the time, I don't believe. If you did, they weren't doing what you wanted to do. So it probably is a pretty good challenge for you to break into the old boys club.
You know, it's really, you know, I went in with the mentality when I got hired that I was going to do the job and I was going to do it to the best of my ability. And I really never looked at it, you know, being female, male, being a female in a male-dominated profession. That this just really never was an obstacle to me, because when I came to work, I was here to do a job and I was going to give it 110%. And so regardless what came in the way, you were getting my best every single day.
So you're out on the streets. I mean, obviously you knew what you were getting into, but I'm sure there's a lot of surprises, and that first caller or whatever you had, I mean, it had to be either exhilarating or scared you to death.
You know, I have loved every position that I've been in, from patrol officer to working in narcotics. That was probably my most favorite position, was narcotics, and I was very passionate about that. I was the public information officer, the spokesperson for the department for a couple years. That was definitely a different side. It was probably not my favorite job, but it was a good learning opportunity in dealing with the media and learning to speak during press conferences and you know, in high profile situations, but and then going through the promotional processes. So every place that I have been just gave me a different opportunity to learn.
And you came to Bardstown. And in Bardstown, obviously, I'm sure going from Louisville to Bardstown had to be, that's a huge transition all in itself. But Bardstown has had some issues over the last several years, and I'm sure you knew of them or knew about them before you got here. So what really was the selling point for you to want to come to Bardstown, Kentucky?
You know, Bardstown's close to where I live. Bardstown's a beautiful community. And the community is just open arms. They're so friendly and so nice. And I tell you what is so nice is driving down the road and being at a red light, and someone just rolls the window down, and they're friendly, and they wave with all five fingers.
I'm going to ask you, how many did you count them?
Yes, and I just absolutely drive away with a big smile on my face, and it's just such a great town. And you know, every community and every place that you go to has issues. You know, there's no town or there's no city that doesn't have problems or crime or problems that you deal with. You know, just the difference here is it's a smaller community, so some issues are going to be publicized more than other issues, but every community has issues that you're dealing with.
Oh yeah, every time I watch the Louisville news and they tell about Bardstown, and they'll tell a story about the West End down to Louisville, and I said, this goes on every day in some parts of the city.
Yeah.
We deal with it once or twice a year, but we seem to get a black eye over it a little bit. But and that's just a pet peeve of mine. But you've been in Bardstown a while now, and then you've got a chance to see what our issues are, whether it's drugs or whether it's crime or what it is. And have you got a pretty good idea of what Bardstown looks like to you now from a law enforcement standpoint?
You know, I've only been here about a month and a half, going on 2 months, and so there's still a lot to learn in a lot of areas, geographical areas, and just to really see the problems. But I'm getting a good grasp of some of our issues. You know, drugs is a number one issue for many communities in our country. And so that's definitely something that we're going to be working on. Just a lot of drugs throughout the community, and so we're looking at doing a lot of different programs to really try to tackle some of the quality of life issues that we're having. You know, some things that maybe some of the community members think that we're just not addressing. And so, you know, if it's a quality of life issue that affects your day-to-day life, it's a problem. And it's something that we need to address. And so those are the things that we're really looking to try to improve from just day to day.
You come in with your police officers already in place. They accepted you pretty well. And what kind of team do you have right now?
You know, there's great officers at Bardstown Police Department, and they really are working to do a really, really good job. There are some structural changes that are going to be made. And I have just recently hired some outside command that's going to be starting in the next couple weeks. One of the positions that I'm creating is a training coordinator position that's going to be starting on Monday. And so one of the things that I think is really important for a police department is kind of the triangle of success. You have to have sound policies, you have to have good supervision, and you have to have solid training. And so with that, the policies are, you know, that's just work to do, but will be finished. You have to have good supervision, but with that training component, you know, with smaller agencies, you typically don't see your own training unit or your own training department or a coordinator. And so I have hired a retired sergeant from the Louisville Metro Police Department who has 28 years of experience that starts Monday, and he is going to be a full-time training coordinator. And we're going to do a lot of training. And so we'll train on things from clearly established law, search and seizure, tactical operations, from firearms to driving, you name it, we're training on it. And so that's going to be part of that triangle of success in my first 90-day plan.
Okay, well, it sounds like you got a good plan going and ready to go. Law enforcement has changed a lot in the last many years. I mean, obviously, it's more public in many ways with everybody with their little iPads and dash cams or whatever it is, but you still see law enforcement as the career that you chose, and you still have the passion for?
Oh, absolutely. There is not a career change out there. If I went back and did it all over again, I would 100 times do the same choice again. It has been so rewarding, and I feel like I have helped many people over my career. And worked with so many great men and women that put on this uniform and will give up their lives for the community. And they run toward danger and don't even know who they're going to help. And so it takes a very special person.
It does.
To do this job. And so working alongside the men of Bardstown Police Department, they're working hard for this community. And I feel like they've not had that praise. There's been a lot of controversy over the past several years, and when you go to Google and you Google things they kind of got lost in the shuffle over that. And so they work really, really hard. And so now it's time to have a leader that can champion the success and the hard work that they do every day.
Okay, well, first of all, we want to thank you for what you've done already, and thank you for coming to Bardstown, and thank all the men and women in the police business. But like I said, you put on that uniform every single day. You don't know what's going to happen before the day's out, and there's very few of us in any profession that can say that, because as you say, as we're running away from danger, you're running toward it. So we do want to praise you very seriously for that. And again, thank you for being here in Bardstown. And I know I've heard nothing but good, so I think that's a great thing. So thank you for coming on the show as well.
Oh, you're so welcome.
And if we ever need us for anything, we're here. That's one of the things we like. And one of the things I've learned about small town media, being in small town media, and I've dealt with this from people from larger communities, is people come in with a wary attitude as they look at small media as sort of the adversary. And I do believe small town media has a good partnership with law enforcement. And hopefully it'll be a help to you as well.
Absolutely, I agree.
All right. Well, please, the Bardstown Police Chief Kim Cracy been on the job for 6 weeks or so, and we hope to have you around for many, many years to come. And looking forward to some great things.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Well, thank you for being here. Stick around. A lot more to come. If we can keep this tablecloth on the table, we'll even have more interviews tonight here on Channel 6 TV. We'll be right back.